Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number one, the entire patents on the equipment. Number two, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base with Senator Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to questions.
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans.
Worldwide.
Millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
About this official U.S. government website published in 1996 by the military, all about weaponizing the weather via modification. And it says weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in, drumroll, 2025.
Τα γεωφυσικά όπλα είναι ικανά να τροποποιούν τις ατμοσφαιρικές και γεωλογικές συνθήκες ενός τοπού. Άρχισαν να αναπτύσσονται κατά τη διάρκεια του Δευτέρου Παγκοσμίου Πολέμου και η Νέα Ζηλανδία αποχαρακτηρίζει έγγραφα που δείχνουν υποβρύχες εκρήξεις ως μέρος του σχεδίου SEAL, το οποίο χτύπησε τις ακτές του Όκλαντ το 1944. Η κυβέρνηση των Ηνωμένων Πολιτειών επιβεβαίωσε ότι κατά τη διάρκεια του πρόσφατου τυφώνα Έλεν, πέταξαν αεροπλάνα με μετεωρολογικά όπλα και ότι ο τυφώνας απέκτησε μαγικά δύναμη πάνω από την ξηρά, όπως κανένας τυφώνας πριν, προκαλώντας μεγάλες καταστροφές. Σύμφωνα με ερευνητές του Πανεπιστημίου του Rice, στο Χιούστον του Τέξας, ο τυφώνας Έλεν κατέστρεψε εκατοντάδες βιομηχανικές εγκαταστάσεις στη Δυτική Βόρεια Καρολίνα, που ήταν γεμάτες με τοξίνες και ρήπους. Κατέστρεψε χαρτοβιομηχανίες, εργοστάσια λιπασμάτων, εγκαταστάσεις αποθήκευσης πετρελαίου και φυσικού αερίου, ακόμη και ένα εγκαταλελειμμένο πυρηνικό εργοστάσιο. Ενώ πλημμύρισε την περιοχή με νερό που διέρευσε στο έδαφος και στα αποθέματα πόσιμου νερού με επικίνδυνες χημικές ουσίες. Οι νομοθέτες ενημερώθηκαν για την τεχνολογία κλιματικής τροποποίησης που συνδέεται με το Υπουργείο Άμυνας μετά το χτύπημα του Έλεν στη Τζόρτζια και τη Βόρεια Καρολίνα, 2 από τις 7 πολιτείες. Κλειδιά που πρέπει να κερδίσει η αριστερά για να πετύχει τη μεγαλύτερη εκλογική έκπληξη στην ιστορία.
In Michigan, residents reported a strange strobe-like lightning. The event was captured on weather radar, which showed a very unnatural-looking spiral.
That's some conspiracy theory shit right there.
Making it rain has been possible for decades, and we have come a long way since then, with the High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, known as HAARP. We can now create hurricanes, and we can control their direction with next-generation weather radar transmitters, known as NEXRAD. By building up an electromagnetic charge and dispersing it underground as direct current VLF waves, or very low frequency waves, the NEXRAD radar transmitters are able to trigger earthquakes. Earthquakes and explosives can trigger tsunamis. These are the technologies that we know of, and that only leaves volcanoes and tornadoes. Funded by Peter Thiel, AVE Tech Energy Corporation began work in 2012 on a device to produce a 130-foot-tall tornado. And a former U.S. intelligence officer recently told State of the Nation that the U.S. has already triggered a volcano. Climate change is not only a hoax, it's a depopulation program, and our entire government is going along with it.
Nobody is talking about this. The media is barely covering it at all, but Acapulco just got drilled head-on by a Category 5 hurricane, Hurricane Otis. About 50 people are already confirmed dead. More deaths will no doubt be confirmed in the days and weeks to come. Videos at the scene show the utter devastation of the city. You won't see this on the Fox News channel, but have a look. Despite that massive destruction, total blackout in the media. The news coverage that has happened so far looks primarily intended to discredit the Mexican president, who's notorious for not going along with the demands of the World Economic Forum and other globalist bodies. President AMLO, as he's often called, has also opposed the global climate scam. Well, now, suddenly, out of nowhere, his country is smashed by devastating hurricanes. Not just one, multiples. That may not just be a coincidence. Jeff?
We just started at the beginning on Tuesday of last week at about 6 o'clock in the evening. I just heard from one person on Twitter that there was a hurricane near Acapulco. I was a little surprised because I hadn't known about anything. I started watching on some of the weather sort of things with like people who track these sort of storms. And very quickly, it went from a tropical storm to a Cat 1 to a Cat 2 to a Cat 3 to a Cat 4 in a couple of hours. And I went on all kinds of sites where they talk about these things, and everyone was shocked. They said, how did our models miss this? Then they said, it looks like it might turn into a Category 5 pretty soon, and it's headed straight towards Acapulco. And they said, by the tracking, it looks like it's going to hit at 6 in the morning. But it was still, no one was talking about it. Everyone I talked to in Acapulco said they hadn't heard about it. Everything was fine there. I must have the wrong information. And then the storm actually hit just after midnight. So it went from nothing to a Cat 5 in a matter of hours. There was no one talking about it anywhere in the world, including the media, and hit into Acapulco at a Cat 5. It's actually the biggest, by far the biggest storm that's ever hit Mexico. Some people say the winds might have topped out at even 300 miles an hour. The hurricane actually came with zero rain, no rain whatsoever, which is unheard of. Even at the University of Miami, the meteorologist guy there said that they've never seen anything like this. This rewrites everything they know about tropical storms and hurricanes. And he said it was like there was a mystery ingredient added into this. And I think we know what that is, HARP and those sort of things. This was definitely a weapon attack, a weather weapon attack on Mexico. They need to look into how fast this storm not only turned into a Cat 5, but also then sped up and just drilled right into Acapulco. And then as soon as it had hit, it basically disappeared completely. This was every meteorologist on Earth should be studying this, but most of them don't even know about it, as I said.
Premier real estate in Acapulco going to be purchased. Who's going to be buying this stuff?
Well, they've already begun, actually. Carlos Slim actually has been buying up all the mainland in Mexico. And what they actually, this is another part of the agenda. They want to get rid of a lot of the poor people out of the poorer areas because no one knows this, but they were planning. We found out about this afterwards. There was a UK think tank that wanted to try to put in a 15-minute smart city in Acapulco. And the people in Acapulco are the type of people who would not go along with that. You might not even know about this because no one knows about all these hurricanes. Puerto Vallarta was hit by a Category 4 dead on just a few weeks ago. Then Cabo was hit by a Category 4, which actually was about a 1 by the time it hit just a week or so ago, or a couple weeks ago. And then the three biggest cities on the West Coast all got hit dead on by Cat 4s or Cat 5s in the last month, and hardly anyone even knows about them. Even the Mexican media has barely said anything about it. No mainstream media has barely said anything about it. They want to keep it quiet because this is a weather weapon attack, in my opinion.
It used to be considered a fringe conspiracy theory. Now it's just everyday news about what's happening in Dubai, for example. What do you think is happening with this big Arctic blast situation that's unfolding right now for North America?
Well, it's interesting they put labels on these engineered storms like that. The Arctic blast straight out of the record warm Gulf of Mexico. and they push this moisture, they manipulate it up the eastern seaboard, wrap it around a counterclockwise spinning low pressure zone, chemically nucleating it the entire way. And as you get further along in this process, you have the ice storm transition zone between the warm flow of Gulf of Mexico moisture and eventually what ends up being various forms of frozen material falling from the sky, chemically nucleated. And this frozen material, Mike, is falling at ever higher temperatures above freezing. Now they're routinely showing snow starting at 38, 39 degrees, sometimes 40 degrees or above. So as this process continues, if they continue the chemical ice nucleating cloud seeding operations, the surface temperatures do drop, sometimes precipitously, depending on how much of this they apply and how long they apply it for. They're trying to create as many sensationalized headlines as they can. And this is important to understand, that as they're doing this to skew people's understanding of the true state of the climate, every single engineered cool down they create, Mike, comes at the cost of an even further damaged climate overall. They were going to be utilizing this type of process, chemical ice nucleation, cloud seeding, for engineering winter weather events. So they needed a term that would program much of the population to believe that these flash cool downs were somehow a part of global warming, which they are not. They are completely engineered, as you correctly stated. So we have a so-called environmental global warming community that refuses to acknowledge the single biggest piece in the equation, Mike. And until they do, anything they say is illegitimate.